Hey guys, thank you so much for joining another episode of Price on Purpose. Once again, I'm your host, Stacey Price. And it's so funny. I didn't ask you how to pronounce your last name. How do you pronounce your
Manbodh. It's fine. My
last
name's
name?
Tiffany Manbodh.
Manbodh. Okay, Tiffany Manbodh is with us, gratefully so. She is an integrative nutrition health coach and author, and she has actually been, I guess you could say, lectured or coached by some amazing people in the industry, Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Andrew Weil, and a name that I think a lot more of us know, Deepak Chopra.
Yeah.
She also enjoys, or we're going to break down some taboo topics in the Caribbean, West Indian, and South Asian community, including mental health, trauma, and women's issues. Tiffany, I am so grateful to have you on today.
I am quite honored and privileged to be here, graced by your wonderful presence. So I love it. I'm loving the
Yes,
energy already.
thank you. Oh my goodness, Tiffany, tell me a little bit. I've never heard that wording used. Tell me a little bit about what an integrative nutrition health coach does.
Yes, so an integrated nutrition health coach is a supportive mentor that guides individuals to their health and wellness goals.
Mm.
So, in simpler terms, we're the people you see between your doctors. So maybe someone, they go to their doctor and the doctor tells them like, oh, your cholesterol's high, like change your diet, get more exercise and stuff like that. And sometimes they need that extra accountability, and that is what we provide. And we also, see what else is going on in their life in regards to their career, their relationships, their spiritual practices. So integrated nutrition, it honors that nutrition is not the only component to have a healthy life, full of vitality. But there are other lifestyle factors such as your career, your relationships, the amount of physical activity you're getting, and also a spiritual practice. When all of these elements are in sync, one will experience more harmony and vitality in their lives.
Girl. Yes. You know what the thing is? It's so interesting because when you were speaking, you reminded me of a very important moment in my life where, so my mom would watch Oprah all the time. And one day I was in my room and sometimes, I would overhear, the show that she's watching. Oprah used to come on 4 p.m. Eastern time, and she had Deepak Chopra on. That was the first time I even heard of this man. And he broke it down to the point where I wasn't even conscious of this. He was saying how important not only the size of your plate is when you're eating, but even the color of your tablecloth.
Wow.
And I was
to a
just
whole
like,
other level.
what? I was like, no way. And what I love that you discuss, because I'm going to segue into sometimes we don't realize certain things that are either serving or not serving us. And a lot of it is our behavior. I remember, yes, right? Because we don't realize, we're not conscious of it. It's, just like how a lot of us are starting to understand of these levels of the human mind where our unconsciousness is sometimes doing the driving and we're just kind of going, you know what I mean? And that's why I love, and I usually recommend to some people to speak to a nutritionist because, a nutritionist can give you some insights that you don't really see. Like a doctor could be like, okay, this is a problem. Just like you said, like high cholesterol, but how do you fix that?
Right. Yeah. So a lot of people they think I'm a nutritionist, but I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian, like in that medical sense. So we're like the middlemen, if you think about it. So from the time, they find out their issue or what they have to do and they come to someone like myself, then I look at what they're currently doing, what they tried in the past, and we co-create this kind of space together, and I provide the accountability. So, it's different when you're brushing your teeth. When you were growing up brushing your teeth, your parents would always remind you, did you brush your teeth yet? So you had that accountability until it became a behavior that you did subconsciously, So
Mhm.
when we're trying to make behavioral changes, it's very similar. And having someone that is checking up on you and
Yes.
making sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and also phrasing questions in such a way that it's
Mhm.
challenging your beliefs. I think this component a lot
Ooh,
of people really like in my coaching. Like,
yes.
I had a client just this morning, tell me that in all of their life, they've never felt this good yet.
Wow.
And I was just like, "Oh my goodness," like, you had to go a lot of your life and, like, you didn't get to feel the vitality and the
Ooh.
fun in a life.
Mhm.
I just teared up because I really understood, like, the impact that I was creating, even with, like, the small shifts that we would discuss.
Mhm.
I really, really, truly understood that the impact that this could potentially have on a lot of people because my people I love to work with, are really driven.
Mhm.
And so I chose to work with female entrepreneurs or like, business owners that want to heal their relationship with emotional eating and stress
Mm.
to really step back into that radiance. Because,
Mhm.
I mean, if you're just like living and you're just like going through the motions and you're not feeling
Right.
radiant, like what really are you doing?
Yes. I love that you
Hmm.
said that because and I love that you're helping that specific community because being an entrepreneur is a huge bet on you. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
going against maybe what other people saw as success, and you're now operating out of it where it's self defined. And it's not always that we have the help that we need, whether it's when in the business itself
Hmm.
or somebody to hold us accountable. We just go tunnel vision. I even see that with myself now of starting to develop a business. It's like I'm just going. I just get up and go. I just get up and go. And then
Hmm.
all of a sudden through midday, I'm like, why do I feel oh, I didn't eat today? Or I didn't drink water. Or I didn't start out, spiritually, like starting off my day with that word that I need.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, because my focus is on the business. It's not on me, but isn't that relating? Like
Yes,
I need to be
yes.
there?
You are the part of your business. You're basically the business. So how your energy is, it's going to translate to when you're working with clients as well. So if you're not feeling
Yes.
your best, it's going to transfer unconsciously, even subconsciously. That's why it's
Right.
so important for like entrepreneurs and business owners and professionals to feel their best.
110%.
Really embody that energy. And you also mentioned something that I wanted to touch on. You said
Hmm.
morning routines.
Yes.
Having a morning routine really sets the tone for your entire day. So if you're someone that you're waking up and then like you're already diving into the hustle and bustle and you haven't
Hmm.
taken time for yourself to like even meditate or stretch or take a few deep breaths or whatever spiritual practice you do in the morning, even like for me, if I don't have my
Hmm.
cup of tea,
Hmm.
like by 12 o'clock, I'm feeling agitated
Hmm.
because I missed my morning peace. And just having really simple tools and techniques that you can integrate into your life in the morning is going to
Hmm.
set the tone for your day. And you're going to even see that shift in your energy. Because now, when you're
Yes.
feeling happy, when you're confident, dancing in the mirror and stuff early in the morning, you feel
Yes.
good. And that
Yes.
energy you're going to transfer that energy in your interactions throughout the day.
Yes, the transfer of energy. It's so funny. Like, so I spent over 17 years in the customer care industry.
Uh-huh.
I actually started another show called Quality Theory that I didn't even broadcast yet, but I am recording. Um, and we speak a lot about why, like the why, how important why and how matter.
Mhm.
And I remember being in customer care and, and I think as we're venturing into this new business realm, we're becoming more aware of our existence, that we're human,
Right.
that tomorrow is not promised. Like
Mhm.
there's things that we have to do to maintain whatever this is for us. And I mentioned to people, I'm like, look, like when you get on that phone and you're helping someone, you got to make sure you have to be right. Like you need
Mhm.
to be in that space to assist, but you can't help if you're not helping you.
Right, right.
It's just so interesting. We forget. We actually forget. And I think that's why it's so important to kind of have those reminders. And that's what that morning routine is.
Mhm.
There's this great book. I know this guy is probably on like a world tour right now. He wrote this book called Atomic Habits, and his name is James Clear.
Uh-huh.
And he speaks about habit forming behaviors. and how to start, whether it's you dive in head first
Mhm.
or you just show up, there has to be something to pivot the behavior.
Mhm.
Tell me about how you work with your clients or something that we can absorb to really engage and help us to change our behavior.
Yeah, so usually we look at what behaviors have worked for them in the
Mm,
past.
mm,
And if they don't have a lot that's worked for them in the past, then I propose, well, what if you tried this or that? Ask suggestions and recommendations. But essentially, what I try to establish is to really dive deeper with them and look at the beliefs that aren't serving them. Those beliefs like
mm.
I'm not enough or I can't do this.
Oof.
Because sometimes if they're not doing a certain behavior, is
Mhm,
because they might have this underlying limiting belief, which is
mhm.
why they're hesitant. That there
Yes.
has to be this barrier or this block that is preventing them from engaging in the behavior. And I
Mhm.
also, we've got like a bunch of different stuff that we do together, but I also believe in empowering people.
Yes.
True change comes from self-love, and I learned this from another holistic practitioner. You can't punish yourself to feel healthier. When you
Mm.
love yourself and you have self-respect, for your body, your mind, your spirit, you're going to start to operate differently.
Yes.
The way you
Yes.
think, the way you move, the way you nourish your body, the kinds of food you eat. When you have that reverence for body, mind, and spirit, you will
Mhm.
operate on a whole other level, you know?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's so that's so heavy. Like that's so heavy. I'm absorbing it because some of us, and I remember I too was at this point where I thought the level I was on was the only level that existed,
Hmm.
you know? And I used to feel like the only way I could work out was like this boot camp vision.
Hmm.
Although I love it. I love a good boot camp. Like be like, "Yo, come on, no, like 5 more reps." Like I love that. But at the same time, do I want that type of energy all the time? Is that going to serve me to stick with it?
Hmm.
No. Maybe salt and pepper, but
Hmm.
like not all the time. It's so interesting. I'm sure you probably meet upon clients that have replicated behaviors from their upbringing, but they're not necessarily helping them in their current state.
Yes. And I was that person even myself. And it wasn't
Mm,
until I started questioning my own conditioning, like the culture conditioning that I was brought up with, stuff around like money mindset even.
yes.
Because like the generation before us, they the way they were growing up, it was on survival. And so
Hmm.
they really were in this lacking mindset because they had to like, save money and do things because they weren't sure what tomorrow had hoped for them. And so it's like they pass these things on to us. And
Hmm.
now it's up to us to realize, okay, is this serving me? Like, what is this
Hmm.
doing for me by me believing that I don't have enough? And so once
Mm.
I started really cultivating that awareness and examining the limiting beliefs, I was able to mentally shift that. And I came up with an alternative belief that I wanted to have, like money is abundant, I can
Mhm.
make money easily. Because as long as you have a skill and when you have passion, money will come after.
Absolutely.
When you tune into your purpose and your heart, money takes care of itself.
Girl, yes. Like that's the thing. Like, I love that you said that because it's the shift of I'm here to survive versus I'm here to thrive.
Hmm.
And
I love that.
yeah, like I just thought of that. I was like, yes. All right. So, it's so interesting because I too used to think that, you had to go get money. Like
Hmm.
the reason you woke up is to go get it versus you're creating it as a product of what you do to serve humanity.
Yes.
And that takes time to develop, but I think if we, us,
Hmm.
others, the more we radiate on that frequency, it's like a radio station, right?
Right.
Like if the more we radiate that, more people will tune to it.
Yes. Yes. Like I said, it all starts with awareness.
Yes.
And people that are resistant to change, like when they see like you're doing something and they want to know like, what are you taking? Like, I want
Mm-hmm.
to be like that because your
Mm-hmm.
energy, it becomes magnetic and it's infectious. And
Yes.
so sometimes, there will be people that are not ready to receive it yet, and that's
Right.
fine, but that doesn't mean you stop shining your light, you know?
Yes. Ooh, Tiffany. It's so interesting because a lot of what we're talking about, it helps me to be aware. And I'm sure somebody else that's listening is going to be like, look, oh my goodness, I remember I used to do that. Or am I doing it now? Like, that's the
Mhm.
thing. Like, I think, like, even for me, I'm 36 now. And it's like, I feel like, when I read one book, I read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, that took off a blinder. And then I didn't realize there were more blinders on.
I'm actually reading by same guy, Eckhart Tolle, a book called A New Earth,
Ooh, how
and
is it?
it's amazing. Like, you need to read that. Like, every single belief you had will be challenged. Like, there's this really interesting concept I just read
Mm,
about the inner world and your external world. And so
mm,
they were talking about, creation. Really, it's not all about your actions. It's
mhm,
about your level of consciousness, because our inner
mm.
world is the determinant of our outer world. So
Yes.
if you find like the same thing keeps happening over and over, if you're attracting the same like people that are upset and negative, you need to check in with yourself. What's going
Mhm,
on inside deeper? Because we
mhm.
attract people into our lives that are mirrors.
Yes.
They, if something is triggering us
Mhm.
by them standing in front of us or saying something, it means we have like a part of that in ourselves somewhere that is getting triggered. And so it's
Yes.
important to also, look at people, not the way they're behaving, but look at the underlying stuff. They're
Yes.
projecting something to you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that is such a huge thing because that's even something I realize now. Um, with, you're going to feel a shift. Like, for example, if you start to awaken in a different space in your life,
Mhm.
you're going to see that certain things are not going to serve you anymore. And it could be an environment, it could be music, it could be whatever it is, it could be people, it could be whatever. And I think the question is to always question thyself and to see why. Why is so important. That's the question we need to dive into because the why is going to help you see a piece of yourself. it,
Mhm.
it's so interesting because here we are counting who we are or how we are in earth years or the
Mhm.
years that we understand of what a reality is, like this person is 6 versus this person is 40,
Mhm.
and we don't even realize, Tiffany, that we attached a narrative or an idea to what that looks like. And then what ends up happening is we start to act that way, and
Mhm.
we don't realize, like, it's not that I should be attached to the story. I should be attached to my values and principles that are living and have developed inside of me.
Mhm. Oh yes.
It's wild, right?
I love that you mentioned that, and I always think that whatever story you're telling yourself, if it's
Mm,
not serving you, get rid of it. Because
mhm,
you're gonna get tired of it. I was in this same place many years ago. I had a really traumatic experience that in
mm,
retrospective, it was the initiate it would have been the initiation to my spiritual awakening. But at that
mm,
time, I couldn't see it like that. All I could feel was like the depression and the PTSD and the anxiety. Fast forward to
mm,
now, I look back at that and I'm grateful because it
mm,
shifted my consciousness. Like, now I see things very differently. I've lost a lot of so-called friends,
mm,
and I'm grateful for it because I wouldn't
mhm,
be the person that I am today if I
mhm.
hadn't shifted. And because
Right.
I see things differently now, I want others to see it too, but I
Mhm.
understand that not everyone's there yet. And I just
Right.
have to be graceful with them. I'm not
Mhm.
trying to force my beliefs or what I'm going through onto anyone else. I'm just trying to share, well, this was my experience,
Mhm.
and this is how it helped to shape me, and it really opened my consciousness.
Mhm.
And just making people more aware, asking them questions, like getting them to question things. Because I think a lot of people, they don't question things sometimes. They
No.
either just accept it,
Yeah.
especially where I come from in the Caribbean community. Like you tell
Mhm.
someone, okay, the sky is green, they'll be like, yeah, sky is green. And they go about their business. But
Mhm.
you gotta question things,
Mhm.
investigate, be curious.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's why I love or celebrate Einstein in a sense. You know?
Fun fact, we
Tell
share
me.
the same birthday.
Oh, snap! Wait. When's
Pi
your birthday?
Day, March 14th,
March
3.14.
14th. Oh, yeah. It's so amazing. Like I'm looking at I have little pop figurines. Like I
Uh-huh.
got one over there of Einstein. I tattooed E equals MC squared on my arm as like a reminder for myself. Like this guy created this thing and it exists and he is not here in like physical form, but
Mhm.
he is still here in spirit and his ideas and how he thought.
Mhm.
And it's so funny. Pi Day. That's hilarious. So, oh my goodness.
I
Einstein's
like that.
awesome.
I like that you mentioned, his ideas and how he thought because, everyone thought he was crazy, but really the ideas were just so radical. And I think sometimes when people, like let's say if someone has this like really burning desire to change the world and like they're like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then their relatives or like their family look at them like, who do you think you are to be going and do that? Are you
Mm,
qualified? And then they start really not believing in themselves. So also the people that you have, sometimes your family, your relatives, they might be your blocks. So it's
yeah,
gonna come back to you like, where do you want to go? Do you want to stay in the same place? Do you
yeah,
want to move forward? And what are you gonna do to get there?
yeah. It's so important. The funny thing is, before we spoke, I had an interview with my loctician, the person that does my locks, and she
Uh-huh.
spoke about, and she, shares how, somebody in her family was like, you're gonna do hair like that, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't like that you're doing hair. Like, that's not a real
Job.
business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's so funny because now she's thriving
Right.
from her beliefs, you know what I mean? And I told her, I said, I'm so grateful that you decided to listen to yourself
Mm-hmm.
because I think sometimes, like, even in our culture, the Caribbean culture, like, it could be so easy to be like, you know what? So and so is right. Let me not.
Right? Like imagine all the $1 million ideas that